Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly unconventional financial transformation. If you've ever felt like there's some invisible ceiling on your earning potential, well, you're going to want to stick around for this one. We're looking at the deeply psychological strategy of a guy named Ning Li. He's a former science teacher who claims to have completely revolutionized his bank account. And get this, he didn't do it by grinding harder. He did it by healing his inner child. Let's get right into it.
Let's just dive right into the deep end with his most spectacular claim. Ning Li reports pulling in a staggering $757,000 in a single year. To put that into perspective, he frames this as making more than a doctor, an engineer, and a lawyer combined. It's a massive number, right? Especially considering where he started, which we'll actually map out in just a second. But before we look at the how, we kind of need to look at the how much time this supposedly takes.
Because to make that sky-high number even more intriguing, he claims he achieved this massive income while working less than 2 hours a day. I mean, no way, right? He describes living in this beautiful ocean view house in La Jolla, San Diego, completely detached from the traditional 40-hour or, let's be real, the 80-hour hustle culture work week that we usually associate with that level of wealth.
Now, he is very quick to point out what he did not do. He didn't rely on your typical manifestation tropes. So no chanting affirmations in the mirror, no spells, and no EFT tapping, the practice of tapping acupressure points to relieve stress. None of that. Instead, he attributes his success to a process he calls accidental manifestation, and this was achieved through inner child reparenting. The wild part? He literally stumbled upon this whole thing entirely by accident while just trying to cure his own misery.
Which brings us to part 1, the root of the problem, escaping the loop.
Let's trace his 7-year journey here. He actually started out totally removed from the spiritual or, woo-woo space. He was a scientist. He literally studied the regulation of myoglobin in elephant seal muscle cells and eventually became a high school biology teacher in Colorado. When he tried to transition into marketing later on, he had some minor successes, sure, but he was met with crippling depression and this overwhelming feeling of just being a failure. It actually wasn't until he attended a conference in Austin, Texas, that he discovered inner child healing, and that is what eventually catapulted him into becoming a highly paid chief marketing officer.
So, the source of his crippling depression? It came from a profound realization he had at that Austin conference. He realized that his internal monologue, that constant nagging voice in his head, was really just a harsh echo of his parents. It's what is defined as the internal voice, that subconscious mental chatter that perfectly mimics the tone, the criticisms, and the beliefs of your parents during your childhood. Lyman points out something absolutely crucial here. The dominant emotion you felt growing up is very often a perfect match for the dominant emotion you feel in your adult life.
His breakthrough is perfectly summed up by this realization. Quote, "The way I talk to myself is the same exact way that they would talk to me growing up." He started noticing that the energy of his adult actions matched his childhood fears perfectly. For instance, handing in a work project, that triggered the exact same anxiety and dread as handing a bad report card to his critical parents years ago. Basically, he was subconsciously reliving his childhood trauma every single day in his professional adult life.
Let's move on to part 2, the reparenting technique, rewiring the mind. The main tool for this reparenting was writing therapeutic letters to his younger self. Now, the conference he attended recommended writing 1 letter a week, but he aggressively accelerated his healing. He jumped to writing 8 letters every single day. Sounds like a lot, right? Well, why did he do it? Because every single time he wrote a letter, he noticed his nervous system visibly calming down. He found that he literally couldn't stand being mean to himself in his head anymore, and this intense volume of letter writing was his escape hatch.
And this practice had a massive ripple effect. Think about his old reality. He was fearful and ashamed around women, completely paralyzed by perfectionism at work, and trapped in this heavy scarcity mindset. But as he systematically regulated his nervous system through these letters, things shifted. His fear around women disappeared, which actually led to him meeting his wife. He stripped that anxious perfectionism out of his workflow, which allowed his marketing campaigns to suddenly just thrive, because that desperate, needy energy was completely gone.
The financial impact over those 7 years really puts this whole thing into perspective. As he continued to reparent his relationship with money, literally unwiring all those subconscious imprints of scarcity he'd absorbed from his parents, his income skyrocketed. We're talking going from making roughly $30,000 a year to a massive $750,000 a year. His marketing campaigns for health products, stuff like avocado oil and cacao powder, just started crushing it, and his royalty checks grew and grew.
All right, part 3, amplifiers, plant medicine and downloads.
Well, the letter writing was definitely his foundation. Li claims that around year 3 of doing this intense inner child work, things shifted even further. Now, even though he never considered himself spiritual or psychic growing up, he reports that he actually began receiving sudden psychic downloads during his meditations. He says he would vividly see exactly how a marketing campaign was supposed to look, and by simply taking action on these spontaneous blueprints, he claims the campaigns went absolutely bonkers, pulling in incredible amounts of profit. He also reports adding another layer to this practice. Eventually, he got so good at these reparenting letters that he could just do them in his head. Then he combined this internal visualization with psilocybin mushrooms, which he playfully refers to as fungi or plant medicine. He intentionally used this combination to dive even deeper into his subconscious.
He describes this combination as a profound multiplier effect. He notes that it was literally like 2 + 2 = 10. He cleared away huge amounts of trauma and programming. He reports that doing this allowed him to shift his internal wiring from scarcity to abundance and from fear to safety almost at will. It gave him the ability to radically alter his beliefs on demand. A real game changer.
Which brings us to the practical application in part 4. Rewiring your money beliefs, the framework.
His method relies on a clear, 4-step process designed to uncouple your self-worth from inherited parental stress. Step 1, you explicitly acknowledge the old belief and you validate the anger, shame, or guilt your inner child feels about it. Step 2 is really fascinating. You mentally hand that belief back to your parents, recognizing it was theirs, not yours. Step 3, you step in as your capable adult self, announcing that you are the new parent taking over. And finally, Step 4, you teach the inner child a brand new, healthier belief.
To put that shift into practice, Lin specifically targets the classic, widely inherited belief that I have to work hard for money. I mean, that's the script so many of us watched our parents model, right? And we were actively told it growing up. Well, through his 4-step letter process, he consciously replaces that stressful narrative with a new, reparented belief. I allow myself to receive money easily. He gives himself permission to earn wealth through ease and even through play.
A direct excerpt from his letter template reads like this. I'm going to be your new parent, little Ning. It's okay to receive money easily, doing something you love while playing. You can just feel the soothing, validating tone there. It actively acts as a new, supportive parental voice, stepping in to heal traumatic patterns, rather than yelling at the inner child for resting or not working hard enough. When that energy shifts, according to Li, the universe opens up to give you money effortlessly.
To wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final thought. If Ning Li's extraordinary journey is any indication, and our adult reality is largely just an echo of our childhood programming, well, what old belief is secretly running your life today? What inherited script is dictating your bank account right now? And more importantly, what new reality could you build if you took the time to finally rewrite it? Thank you so much for joining me, and keep exploring.